So now that I have explained all the basic components of the line method, let's take a look at how they all work together when it comes to pulling sledges and stones. Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're absolutely new to the channel, you should really watch the nutshell video first. It's just 90 seconds and will really help you to fully understand the content of this and other episodes. So now that we have all our tools together, let's take a look how a line actually operates. Let's say we have the sledge in this starting position. If you wonder how it could ever get there, we'll get to that later. For now, let's assume it got there by magic. So you may think we just attach our main rope to the sledge, assemble our pulling team on the horizontal part of the pyramid, and then start walking down the side like this. That won't work. One, the workers would have to climb over our far end portal, which is something between awkward and dangerous. Two, only on the slope they can apply their weight to pull the stone. The workers on the horizontal part would have to pull with all their might horizontally, and I'm not sure if that would be enough to deliver the same force as those workers who are on the slope. So it would be much easier to assemble our pulling team already completely on the slope and then start walking down the slope. Well, in reality, the stone wouldn't start, and we'll get to that later. For now, it starts by magic. The average male in ancient Egypt would weigh about between 60 and 65 kilograms. Let's go with 60. So as a counterweight for our usual 2.5, 2.6 ton stone, we would need some 50 workers. That equates to 3 tons. That should be enough for the stone and some friction. However, if you can pick from several thousand workers, you may want to choose the ones with a higher weight and send the skinny ones to the quarries where they dig those narrow trenches. So our pulling team of 50 workers would stretch for some 25 meters. That means when the first worker of our pulling team reaches the ground, his weight will no longer count towards pulling the stone, and thus the stone would stop. And it will still be 25 meters below the edge of the pyramid. So we could detach that worker from the team, lay some rails, aka ladders, right next to the team, have him climb up there, attach to the main rope at the end of the team, and so the stone would start working again for another 50 centimeters. In reality, that's not the case. For now, let's assume the stone will start again by magic. Then the second worker reaches the ground, he detaches them, he climbs up. Well, that would be pretty time consuming. So it would be much better to have a second team of another 50 workers waiting already on the ladder. And thus, we could have a continuous move on the main road. But the pulling team is supposed to walk down the slope at nearly pedestrian speed. The climbing workers will not be able to catch up with them. So let's give them another 50, but then it will get too crowded on the ladder. So let's give them another ladder on the right side of it. That should do the trick. That would also facilitate the attachment from left and right. When a worker attaches his knot While standing on the ladder, he would still be about nearly 1 meter away from the main rope. That would be uncomfortable and unsafe. So let's give them a little platform or two where they can safely stand while attaching the knot. And there's another catch. The worker will tie his knot in an upright position, and then he has to move down those 2 meters and to lean into his belt. It's pretty hard to figure out the best movement for that action while sitting on the sofa. That should be done in some reenactment project. But the best way I could think of until now was if after tying the knot, he would hold his rope with both hands, start walking and leaning backwards while giving rope, then walk sideways, and when he runs out of rope, he will swing around and lean into his belt. Now we have a system that can continuously pull the main rope without having to climb up to the top of the pyramid. I will call that system a treadmill for obvious reasons. Now let's take a look at what happens at the near end portal. You may remember this picture from a previous episode. Right after the sledge gets over the edge, it will stop in this position, unable to move any further. So we have to untie the main rope from the sledge, get it down from the portal and directly attach it. If we untie the knot and let go, our pulling team will fall. So before untying, we could have them detached from the main rope, or we can let them stand upright, which is pretty difficult on a 51.5 degree slope, so not nice. Or we could have them move sideways and upwards until they can stand on the ladder, but that again would make the ladder pretty crowded. Also not nice, but there's an easy way to do it. We go to our portal, attach a second rope with a stopper knot to the main rope, and for the other end, which we want to attach to one of the pillars of the portal, we don't even need a knot. We just make 2 or 3 round turns, and then one worker could hold the whole pulling team with just one hand. It's hard to believe if you haven't ever seen them, but trust me, that will work. Or ask a sailor. A common feature of sailor's knot is that they are easy to untie when there is no load on them. So we have to make our pulling team lean just a little bit backwards, 5 or 10 centimeters will do. And the guy at the round turns will have to pull the main rope those 5 centimeters back. 200 meters of rope is quite a weight, so he may need a little help. But that should be enough to have no more load on the knot, so we can untie it. Take it down from the portal, reattach it to the sledge again and start pulling. Well, wait. For pulling the sledge horizontally now, we need significantly less power. From reenactments, I would guess it's only 25%, so let's go with 12. The real number doesn't really matter because it varies with the weight of the stone anyway, so give or take a few. So we would have to take 38 workers from the pulling team, detach them, then pull the sledge close to its final destination, and then reattach those 38 workers for the next stone. Why don't we then just create a secondary, smaller treadmill for 12 people, and if, as we have to untie the knot anyway, we could attach it to another main rope for the small treadmill. We get a huge advantage by doing so, because now The workers on the large treadmill can stay attached and almost immediately turn on to the next stone, thus almost doubling the capacity of our line. Now, if we take a look at the pyramid from the side, the red line marks all the points where the horizontal part of the way is as long as the way up. So, left of that, our small treadmill will idle to some extent. At the right side of our red line, our small treadmill will work at full capacity and the big treadmill will idle to some extent. So we want a second small treadmill that will idle too, but it's better if the small treadmill idles than the big treadmill does. The green line shows all the points where the horizontal part is twice as long as the way up. On the right side of the green line, both small treadmills will work at full capacity. So yes, we definitely want two small treadmills. And though the area where we really use it may look small, but you have to keep in mind that at about a height of 30 meters, we have already built 50% of the pyramid. So it's quite an important chunk of all the work. In the introduction, I said that at a width of 5 meters per line, we could have some up to 30 lines at a height of 50 meters. Now it turns out our line will be a little less than 4 meters wide. So the setup with one big treadmill and two small ones will be some 12 meters. So we can only have 12 of those systems at a height of 50 meters. But at the same time, the setup has doubled and for large parts tripled the speed of one line. So the overall tremendous advantage in speed will remain the same. So that's it for today. As always, please like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.